I always come for the health screenings, and I'm a registered nurse with Baptist Health. So when I introduce myself, I always get to tell everybody my dirty little secrets. I'm an Ole Miss graduate. That's the worst one. I'm an Ole Miss graduate. I'm an Arkansas fan, though. I have a daughter, 25. She went to the University of Arkansas. So I'm redeeming myself, or trying to. But I also attended Mississippi State for 3 years. And I'm only going to tell you that now, but when I see you next year, y'all might be mad at me. I do hate that Arkansas doesn't have a better team this year. It's disappointing for all of us. We didn't get season tickets this year. I think we picked the right year to cut back on season tickets. So there's my dirty little secret. But I'm Lynn Nowell, registered nurse. Been a nurse for 27 years now. 1 child, like I said, and 3 dogs and a cat. Have a new puppy at my house. She's finally sleeping through the night, so it's like having a baby at the house. But anyway, that's enough about my personal life. Except I'll tell you one thing I really like to do. I love to cook, and I love to eat. And so we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition today. But from y'all, what's the hardest part of eating healthy? I'm going to talk about how to eat healthy, but y'all know this. I don't have to tell you. What's the hardest part, though, for you? Time and expense. Time is a really hard thing for me. One day last week, I had a rough day at work, and I ate 2 packages of saltine crackers that had 3 crackers each in it, and candy out of my drawer. But now the candy's all gone. I ate all of it, every bit of it. I don't know, I was not feeling really well that afternoon. But that's all I ate that day. I had an apple for breakfast, and then coffee. And that was it. So time. I need time when I grocery shop to pick healthy foods, to plan what I'm going to eat, to remember that I need things for lunch, and then to come home and prepare those in a method that I can walk out the door and grab it. And if I don't take time to do that, I'm eating crackers and candy at my desk. I mean, it's bad when Taco Bell's around the corner. I can at least get one of those Taco Bell servings that has grilled chicken and no added sauces. They're not too bad. But that's bad when you don't take the time out of your desk. Expense. The healthier foods are more expensive in a way, aren't they? And so, when we look at low-income people, they don't eat well because they can't afford the fresh fruits and vegetables a lot of times. And also they don't have the knowledge sometimes that what they're eating is unhealthy. But you don't have to be low income to succumb to that. We all do a lot of that too. Our diet's pretty unhealthy in the United States. What else? What are other barriers that y'all have to eating healthy? Cravings. You like the taste of the stuff that's bad for you. Yes, ma'am?
If I buy fresh fruit and vegetables and I don't fix them in time, then they go bad.
They go bad. You get on this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to eat really healthy. And you get all this food in your refrigerator, and then the crisper drawer. That's my problem. I can't see what's in my crisper drawer, and I forget about it. So I need to plan. Like if I would write out a menu every week and put it we're going to have this, and I have the food for it, it would be a good reminder that I've got that in my crisper drawer. But I do the same thing. I throw out a lot of good food. I let apples spoil on my counter when I'm looking at them. I don't know what that problem is, but the apples are really good right now. It's a good time of the year, and maybe sometimes if you buy apples in the off-season, they don't have much flavor. So shopping fresh in the season that they're supposed to be fresh, they will taste better. Cravings, we eat too much of the bad things and we develop a taste for it, and then that's all we want to eat. And we'll talk a little bit about, when we talk about the My Plate, how we load our plates up with the wrong foods, and that works against us. Okay, so I don't remember when the government started telling us what to eat, but it was in the 30s and 40s, sometime a long time ago. And they had a plan every year. You can go back, there's a history of it. It's kind of like, they could write a book on the history of telling us what to eat. In 2005, on my pyramid, let's see. This is the new My Plate. And this, in 2005, they added the little guy on the side climbing the pyramid to tell us to exercise. But what did that mean? Wasn't that kind of confusing? Well, you know, like the little yellow stripe are fats. And how, you know, if you don't go read a book about that, you didn't really know what the pyramid meant. How does that make you healthier? So that makes a lot more sense. So this is what we're going to talk about today a little bit. And then we'll talk about how I like to cook. Let's see, My Plate. There's a handout, I'm sure, that's got My Plate on it, but I don't remember exactly which one. Okay, before we talk about the different types of food, what are the 3 macronutrients that we all need to eat that supply us with our energy? Protein? Carbohydrates? What's the third one? Fats. Sugars are part of the carbohydrate group, but definitely a macronutrient. So when you ask people about what kind of food you need, they start thinking fruits, vegetables, meats. But we need protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And some foods have all 3 in them. And so those are our big macronutrients. We're not going to talk much about the micronutrients or the supplements today, but mostly about the macronutrients. Vegetables are generally low in calories. Now, you know, there's some that have more calories than others. Vegetables can have some fat in them, some protein sometimes, and some carbohydrates. But generally, they're low in all. And generally, vegetables are very healthy. So when you look at your plate, not the plate that you're supposed to be eating, but the plate you really eat, what portion is vegetable? 2 green beans on the side that you're going to choke down? If you're lucky, the vegetable and fruit are squeezed together in 1/4. Now, if you're diabetic, your plate needs to be half vegetable, and the fruit needs to be a treat that you have occasionally. If you're diabetic, especially watch watermelons, grapes, and bananas. They really drive your blood sugar faster than the other fruits. But all fruits have more accessible sugar, more accessible carbohydrates. And so dietitians tell me to limit the fruits if you're diabetic. Make half your plate vegetables instead of half your plate fruits and vegetables. So the government has decided to tell us, make your plate half fruits and vegetables. And they have these cute little sayings. I'm not sure that it's on all of your handouts, but vary your veggies. And so what does that mean? Don't just eat 2 green beans. But color, vegetables come in so many pretty colors, and all those colors tell us that they have healthy nutrients. The deeper the color, and y'all know this, the deeper the color, the more nutrients are generally in a vegetable. Salad in particular, you know, iceberg lettuce is pretty much water, has a little bit of nutrient in it. But if you get romaine or some of the other lettuces that are deeper in color, you're going to get more nutrients. And that's the way it is with all your vegetables. Okay. Here, the 5 subgroups. I always love when there's a group called other, but still. Dark green vegetable, red and orange vegetable, your beans and peas, your starchy vegetables, which are your corn, some of, you know, English peas, to me, kind of cross that. They're kind of starchy also. Potatoes are a starchy vegetable, and other. So we've got these 5 categories. Don't just eat out of one category. You can't just eat French fries and say you're eating vegetables. You know, that's what our schools have done. Our schools were called to meet these requirements, and they had to make kids eat vegetables. And did you know that there were people from the government who would come and stand at the garbage can where the kids' food was raked out and say, the kids are throwing too much food away. They have to eat the food. So if you know what's been going on in the schools lately, they've been challenged and actually demanded that they give healthy food to the kids to eat. Now the nutritionists are going crazy because there's whole apples or apples with one bite thrown into the garbage can, and they look and say, it's 37 cents. You can't throw that away. But they now are serving healthy foods. But used to, French fries and ketchup were their vegetables. And so, I don't know, if this is going to work, the French fries and ketchup didn't work. So now we're going to try healthy foods and see. But if they don't eat it, it's not going to make them healthy, is it? So if you don't eat your vegetables, they're not going to make you healthy. If you cook it and don't put it on your plate and don't eat it, it won't make you healthy. Or do like me, you leave it in your crisper, you're not gonna get the benefit of it. So what you need to do is try to get a little bit of vegetable from each subgroup, not necessarily in a day, but over the course of a week. Make sure you're including all the subgroups in your vegetables. Fruits. So who doesn't love fruit? If you're diabetic, a little bit of fruit with a little bit of whipped topping is a nice dessert. This is not a fruit, but just along the side. If you're diabetic and you want a sweet treat, Jell-O, sugar-free puddings, or Jell-O, sugar-free Jell-Os with a little bit of whipped topping, or also just a nice dessert. And I know I kind of jumped from my fruits to that, but kind of a nice thing for a diabetic. But you can also do your pudding or your Jell-O with your half cup of fruit, and that makes you feel like you've got a little bit more. And so a way to get some fruits in if you're diabetic. So we talked a little bit about if you're diabetic, watching watermelon, grapes, and bananas. Also read the labels, because frozen fruits and canned fruits can have a lot of sugar added. Just be aware of that when you're adding fruits. Now, it's perfectly fine for half your plate to be full of vegetables, even if you're not diabetic. Eating like a diabetic is healthy for all of us. Grains. So what are grains? Rice. What else is in our grains group? Bread. Oats. Now, who's heard the saying, the whiter the bread? Do y'all know the rest of that? The sooner you're dead? When you look at a package of bread, if it says wheat bread, does that mean that it's whole wheat bread? No. How do you know? Read where on the label do you read? The ingredient list. If the first ingredient says the magic word enriched, what does that mean? They processed it, they took out all the good stuff, and they tried to add some of it back. Your first ingredient should say whole wheat, whole grain. Sometimes they'll mix them, and you'll see some enriched wheat later in the ingredient list, but your first ingredient should say whole. And then if your label says 100% whole grain, then you know that's a whole grain. They can trick you, though, and put some brown food coloring in white bread. But another thing they do that kind of tricks you is they can make whole wheat bread white, whole white wheat, and it looks better, and you can trick your family. And so it's a way to start introducing your whole grains. So the government says make half your grains whole. That's easy to remember. Vary your vegetables, make half your grains whole. So when we talked about enriched, someone said it's been processed. The outside covering and the germ layer have been removed from the grain, and that's where most of the nutrients are. And that's why it's fine. It boosts your blood sugar really fast because your body can digest it. Once it's been processed, your body can digest it really fast. And your blood sugar is going to spike, and then you're going to get that lull later in the day. So that's why whole grain foods are much better for you. Digest more slowly, you don't get that blood sugar spike, and you get a lot more nutrients. Dairy. If you're lactose intolerant, you need to look at other sources of calcium and the nutrients that you can find in milk. But yes, sir?
Silk milk is good.
And I haven't tried, you know,
Almond silk milk.
here's one of my barriers to some of the eating healthy that sounds weird. And so I haven't tried it yet. I haven't tried any. And
Well, the time you can keep it in the refrigerator is about twice what this dairy milk is.
that's a good point. And some people will use it in their coffee. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to be brave. That's going to be my health try for the week. I'm going to try some.
Because I'm lactose intolerant. And I can drink that and it doesn't bother me.
Most people need how many servings of dairy a day? 3 servings of dairy a day. If you are breastfeeding, if you're a teenager, still growing, kids need a little bit more. So what are sources of dairy? It's on the milk, yogurt, ice cream, ice milk. Now, what's not a good source of dairy, but it's made from dairy? Cheese can be a good source of dairy. Cream cheese, not so much. Butter. Butter is not in our dairy group. So where would you put butter? And they didn't put fats on the plate. But y'all do know we need fats, but it's not one of the food groups they included on the plate. Protein. What's a serving size of protein? Like a deck of cards. Should be able to fit in the palm of your hand. Who eats a steak that size? So if you're going to eat a steak, try to choose an 8 ounce, especially if you're a female. And, you know, I hesitate to encourage you to eat a 12-ounce steak, but that's a lot more reasonable than a 16-ounce or one of those mega, can you eat this? And they'll roll you out. Yes, sir?
I do have a question for you on the steak. Guy was telling me the other day that the steak takes longer to digest out of your system than the other things like chicken and turkey and fish. Is this true?
I don't know.
Well, red meat's also, I found when I got off red meat, I don't have gout anymore.
But red meat is not all bad for you. And for an individual, it might be good, and it might be your choice too. And some people just choose not to. Some people don't like red meats, or don't eat pork, or don't eat any meats. But red meat has a lot of iron and a lot of nutrients in it. Just remember, a serving size is 4 ounces. If you're going to eat an 8 ounce or a 12-ounce steak, that's, you know, all the red meat you need for the week or for several days. So you really should limit the amount of red meat you have and add more turkey, more chicken, and what else do we need to add more of? Fish. So who's doing that? Have you found some good recipes? So fried catfish doesn't fit into that. That's one of those occasional things. In fact, fried catfish, if you've never been to Mississippi and gone to one of the little fish houses, Arkansas doesn't even know about fish houses. I think we've talked about you being from Mississippi before. Where are you from?
Grenada.
And so Vaden is where I like to go down. There's a fish house at Vaden. So if y'all ever going down Interstate 55 from Memphis, get off at Vaden. You'd go, goodness, I have to turn around and drive south down the road. It's back to the left. And so if I'm driving south, what would that be? Back to the east. Go east, and it's on your left. Really good fish place. So I go to Mississippi 2 or 3 times a year, and that's when I get my catfish. We'll talk about recipes in a minute, but I did put you a good fish taco recipe out. And if anybody didn't get a copy, it's the lime green, if y'all want some of my favorite recipes. They're not all healthy, I apologize. So vary your protein choices. What are our healthier fishes? Salmon, our cold water fish, mackerel, tuna. I think sardines might be included in that, but there's so much salt and so much oil in a sardine. I've never eaten a sardine. That's not one I'm going to try. Okay. Sometimes when I read about water, it says you need at least 8 glasses of water a day. But remember, you do get some water from your food. When you drink caffeinated beverages, they really shouldn't count as your free water. But even in juices, you get some free water. But 8 glasses of 8 ounces of water is a good thing to aim for. Try to get at least 4 to 6 in the summer, more 6 to 8. If you have any problems with low blood pressure, if you're pregnant, you need more attention paid to how much water you get so you don't get problems with your blood pressure getting too low. Watch for the artificial sweeteners. There's nothing good about artificial sweeteners. The only thing I would say is if you're diabetic and it's how you keep your diabetes in control so you don't deny yourself everything, I'm not going to hold that back on you. Or if you just like a little sugar in your coffee and you use an artificial sweetener, you know, a little bit, or 1 diet soda a day, okay, those are reasonable choices. My aunt drinks probably 3 2-liter drinks a day of diet soda. I don't know how she affords it. And so that's unreasonable. So you just have to be reasonable in what you choose. Okay, so fats, oils are not a food group, but what are our healthy oils? And there's an opinion on so many oils, so I'm going to stick to the basics. Our healthy oils, olive oil, canola oil are 2 good healthy oils and both good to cook with. What makes an oil unhealthy? To me, there's 2 things. Animal fats, saturated fats. So if it comes from an animal or if it's been hydrogenated and it's solid at room temperature like Crisco, not healthy for us. So I buy a little thing of Crisco just for when I make pie crust and at the holidays, but I don't use a lot of Crisco. There's 1 or 2 recipes over the course of a year. And then if my husband decides he's going to make catfish, he gets the Crisco out. But a better choice, though, for frying fish, if you're going to fry fish, is peanut oil. And it can tolerate those real high temperatures for frying something. So if you're going to compromise and go really bad, you could make yourself feel better by buying some expensive peanut oils. But those are the tests. If it's solid at room temperature, it's going to be bad for you and clogging up your arteries. The other thing about fats, carbohydrates and proteins have about 3 calories per gram. How many calories per gram of fat? Does anybody know? 9 calories per gram of fat. So can you see how when you add just a little bit of fat to your diet, it really blows your calorie counting if you're watching, especially if you're watching your weight. Okay, empty calories. That is where we mess up many times, eating those things that taste so good and they have absolutely no nutritional value. So I recommend to you that the things that are absolutely not nutritious, those are just occasional things. I'm not a proponent of denying yourself completely anything. You can always say, I can have that later, or I can have 1 cookie. Oh, I can't have just 1 cookie. But, or I'm going to have a smaller serving of that. But added fats and added sugars. Also, another thing you can do, if you're going to have a candy bar, have it with some good nuts in it. So you're getting something healthy out of it. If you really want some chocolate shavings on a dairy dessert, at least you're getting your serving of dairy that day. So I always tell the pregnant women anyway, if you're going to have something unhealthy, make sure there's something nutritious about that unhealthy food. I mean, one of my favorite things that they've discovered is that dark chocolate's good for you, but only an ounce a day. So, I didn't really want to talk about exercise today, but just so you know, children and teenagers need an hour of exercise a day, and adults, they recommend 30 minutes a day most days of the week. So 2.5 hours a week of exercise. And that's over and above your usual activities. How many guys here, it's always the guys who say, I work hard, I get all the exercise I need. No, you need exercise that's purposeful for your physical health, over and above what you get at work. Okay, let's see. So this is just, a moderately active person is someone who gets 30 to 60 minutes a day. An active person, so if you're filling in those charts, and you're trying to figure out how many calories you need, don't cheat. If you're not getting 60 or more minutes of activity most days of the week, then you're probably not in the active category and need to bump your calories down a little. I thought this was pretty cool. Y'all are welcome to pass these around if you want to look. It's nothing to look at except looking at your plate and thinking about, does your plate look like this? So that looks like kind of a big plate. How can you control your portion size if you're on a big plate?
Get a smaller plate.
Get a smaller plate. And I think that's one of the best diet tips. If you want to eat healthy, you want to control your portion size, put it on a smaller plate. Because doesn't your brain say, I really want a plate full of food? And if you've got just a little bit of food on your plate, don't you feel deprived? Get a smaller plate. It'll look full. It will really make you feel better. Another little tip I like to use myself is I put a reasonable amount of food on my plate. And then if I'm still hungry when I'm through, I make myself wait 10 or 15 minutes. And if I'm still hungry, then I can get something else to eat. If you gulp your food down like sometimes I do, you're still hungry when you finish eating, your brain hasn't had time to register that you've really had enough to eat. So then if you go get seconds, you eat too much, and that's when you're miserable. And so sometimes I do eat till I'm miserable. Anybody ever eat till they're miserable? Anybody looking forward to Thanksgiving? The MyPlate website really has a lot of good information. This is just talking about what food should we increase, fruits and vegetables, grains, and low-fat choices, and foods to reduce. Read your labels. So I brought a little bit of show and tell. I just went into my pantry and found, I don't know why I bought this chili seasoning mix. Is it good? But this one, I didn't notice a little sign here that says no salt added, and this one has salt added. Serving size on, this has 4 servings and this has 8. Sodium, 310 milligrams. Sodium, 0 milligrams. You can control the salt in your food when you prepare it yourself. So another place I noticed, I don't think I have the regular macaroni, Kraft macaroni and cheese, but there is 0 sodium in this. Homemade macaroni and cheese is so much better than the box, although your kids might take a little time getting used to it, but you can control sodium in your diet by making your own macaroni and cheese. But if you're going to succumb to this, there's no way you can control the sodium. 700 milligrams of sodium in a serving, and there's 5 servings in each little packet. So beware of sodium. Okay. Has anybody ever tried the sugar-free Jell-Os? They're not bad. This is a good way to control some of the calories and still give your kids or your diabetic parents or yourself a snack. So really taste difference. And I'm not a proponent of eating things that you can't pronounce. And the first thing is modified cornstarch. But still, sometimes for a treat, it might be the better choice. Maybe not completely healthy, but the better choice. I noticed in the recipes that I looked at that making your own graham cracker crust is a lot healthier than buying them because you don't have to add the sugar and you can control how much fat you add. So just a little suggestion. And popcorn. We really do pop our own popcorn sometimes. This is a lot healthier than almost any other serving size of this. And if you control the fat that you put in the popcorn you pop yourself, it's not unhealthy to eat quite a bit. But if you're going to eat this, a serving size, this says 5.5 cups of popped corn, 210 calories. That must be that's the mini bag. I don't know if it has 5.5 cups or not, but that's usually not enough popcorn to get a reasonable serving. You can have enough popcorn if you make it yourself. So those are just some of my props I brought. Oh, the other thing I'll tell you is remember a serving size of juice is 4 to 6 ounces, not a 12-ounce glass. And if you can find oatmeal like this They're fairly low calorie. They have flaxseed in them. And I haven't seen them lately. Has anybody seen these? Because I need to find some more. They had them at oatmeal, and it's packed pure and simple. It's either Bear or Better Oats, I think. I know, I cut the top off. This came really out of my pantry. Okay. I was kind of pleased when I looked. This is a serving size of cookies. And when I looked at the cookies that you've got in your meal today, it's probably pretty close to this, maybe 2.5 of these. So that wasn't bad. But I like to get in the Oreos. I cannot go to the grocery store hungry. And usually something's going to end up in the front seat with me, and I'm lucky if it's a banana. But if it's the Oreos, there'll be, one of those little strips will be gone when I get home. So another tip, do not go to the grocery store hungry. I was reading, though, one thing that said, do not take your kids to the grocery store. That might be actually in this next handout. But the dietitian who wrote the tip said, yes, take your kids to the grocery store, but not hungry. And let them help you pick out some of the healthy foods. And they'll be more likely to eat them if they helped you pick out some of the foods. Okay, so I have a true and false test. And y'all, my watch broke. Can y'all tell me how I am on time? 12:30. Okay. True and false. All products that say made with whole grains or wheat bread are considered whole grain foods and include all of the health benefits. Okay, false. The first ingredient, we talked about that. So the first ingredient should say whole durum wheat, 100% whole wheat, whole corn meal, or whole oats. Keyword whole. True or false? I might as well eat real butter because margarines are made out of plastic. Have y'all heard that? It's up for debate. Well, Stephanie, I think Stephanie might have talked to y'all before. She says that's false. Manufacturers used to use a lot of the hydrogenated and trans fats in their margarines, and the names, especially when you read it, sounded an awful lot like plastic. They're doing a lot better. It's actually better, and I told y'all earlier, I'm not a proponent of eating foods you can't pronounce the words in, but it's actually better to eat some of the healthier margarines than it is to eat butter. If you're going to eat butter, really limit your serving size.
What about a candy with believe it's not really butter? Is that good or bad?
I don't know that one in particular. I just have to read the label because I eat butter. Don't do as I do, do as I say. I would read, there's Benecol, and there's a couple of healthy margarines that are supposed to be heart healthy, but for the others, I would just read the label and see what's in it. But look for the trans fats and the saturated fats. If those are low or zero, then it's a healthier margarine. Yes, ma'am?
My mother's cardiologist told her to take a teaspoon or eat a teaspoon of Benecol a day, and it would be just as beneficial as taking cholesterol medicine.
I do know some of the healthy fats can help lower your cholesterol, but to me, that's really, I'd like to see the research on that because that'd be a lot cheaper than some of those cholesterol medicines. If that works out, let me know. Her mother's cardiologist said eat a teaspoon of Benecol, which is a margarine, every day, and that would be just as healthy as or helpful as taking cholesterol medicine. So my response is, yeah, I want to see the research on that. I do know those healthy fats can help lower your cholesterol some, but you need to already be on a low-fat diet and doing all you can, and then sometimes some of those healthy fats can help lower it a little bit. But I know Benecol is one of the preferred margarines by cardiologists. Okay, true or false? Even though olive and canola oils are considered fats, they are still good for your heart. True. Olive and canola oils fall into the healthy fat categories, and this goes along with exactly what you were saying, but those polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats can actually decrease your bad cholesterol and increase your good cholesterol. My question is, as good as medicine? I think it will help a little, but if it's as good as medicine, then let's start doing that instead of taking medicine that has side effects. Because you know every pill you swallow has some side effects, and so you don't need to take pills without a good reason. I can get all the vitamins and minerals I need in a supplement. If you saw the pills my dad takes, you would think that. He loves supplements so much. But your body actually can use the vitamins and minerals and nutrients in food better. So it's better to get all of your health benefits from the food you eat. Doctor I used to work with would say, she was an OBGYN, American women's urine is rich in vitamins. And what she meant is we take too many vitamins and our body just gets rid of them. But do remember, if you are on a low-fat diet, that you have to have some fats in your diets to get some of the fat-soluble vitamins in, or you will be low in some of the vitamins. Okay, if I have diabetes and I'm following a carbohydrate control diet, then I count carbohydrates, not sugars. True or false? True. You need to count carbohydrates, not sugars, if you're diabetic, because all carbohydrates turn to sugars in your body, and they all affect your blood sugar. It's not recommended for me to consume fresh fruits and vegetables. Y'all, I know I might have talked about a couple of these earlier. So her response to that is false and sometimes true. And I asked y'all earlier what conditions might cause you to not eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Diverticulitis, you need a low-fiber diet. Gastroparesis, may need a soft or liquid diet. Some kidney problems, you have to control your potassium. And then also if you're on blood thinner medicine, you have to really watch your green vegetables. So that could be true for some people. If a product says sugar-free, I can eat as much as I want. Ooh, wouldn't that be nice? Then you could eat all the fat you want. Yes, it's false. Sugar-free does not mean healthy. And a lot of the claims they make on the front of a package sound great. You look at it, it may say trans fat free, but did y'all know that means it can have less than 1/2 of a gram? So if you eat a lot of servings of trans fat free food, you may still be getting too much trans fat. So if you read the label for those hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated fats, you can know there's trace amounts in it and maybe make a better choice. Okay, sea salt and table salt both contain sodium that can hurt my blood pressure. True. They both contain sodium, and that can affect your blood pressure. Do y'all know the difference though?
One is actually being cleansed by man, and the other one is in its raw form.
That's probably the most technically correct answer that we could get. And it's in the table salt's in a finer grain. So when you measure it out, a teaspoon of table salt is going to have 2,325 milligrams of sodium, and sea salt 1,950. If you're making baked goods, you don't want to use sea salt because sometimes it doesn't disperse through the product well, but it's great, especially if you're sprinkling it on meats or, ooh, I shouldn't even tell y'all, a salted mocha caramel. It's really good with sea salt. See, I don't eat healthy all the time. But how much salt does the average person need?
Well, I mean, you get a lot of salt, you get a lot of sodium from all the foods.
And if you, it all counts. It all counts. What does the government recommend for salt? 1 teaspoon a day for a healthy person under age 50. Unless, unfortunately, if you're African American, blood pressure problems are so common in that group, they say 3/4 of a teaspoon, or if you're over 50, 3/4 of a teaspoon. Or if you have a health problem like heart disease, 3/4 of a teaspoon. And that's not much salt. You go out to eat once a day, you've probably blown it for the day for your salt. A teaspoon is about 2,400 milligrams. And this says 23, 25 technically. So I use 2,400, 1,600 milligrams if you're controlling you're restricted for some reason. Skim milk does not contain the same vitamins and minerals that whole milk does. True or false? False. And I talked to a group of senior citizens at 10 this morning, and one of them asked me a question, and I called a coworker to see if I could get the answer to that on the way over, and she couldn't find it by Google, so it's probably, he was probably wrong. If Google can't answer your question, then it does. But the only thing removed from skim milk, or 2% or 1%, is the fat. All your other nutrients are there. That's an easy place to cut calories. Children under 2 years of age need all the fat in milk. They need whole milk. So, of course, under 1 year, they're going to be on formula. So, between their first and second birthday, don't go to skim milk or 2% for them. But after that, we can all cut some fat in our diet. I did a taste test with 500 sixth graders, and we had 4 choices of milk, and we let them taste each one. And they liked the whole milk, they liked the 2%, they liked the 1%. They couldn't tell the difference between those. They didn't like the skim milk too much. They weren't used to it. So my point is, it may take some getting used to go to skim if you've not gone to skim, but if you've never tried 2%, I don't think you'd miss it. And if you did 2% for a while and went to 1%, I don't think you'd miss it. And so that's a good place you can make a small change. All fat-free products are good for you. False, and we know that. Those questions and answers were from Stephanie Alsbrook, a dietitian that I work with some. Okay, back to the question I didn't get answered by Google. The gentleman said he had heard Dr. Oz say that something about the processing of milk made it unhealthy. So I don't have an answer, but anyway, while I threw that out, I just want to tell you, if you've heard that before, let me know. We couldn't find it on Google while I was driving over here. Okay, so do y'all want to know about my recipes? When I want to cook, I have 1,000 cookbooks. I love cookbooks. I like to just sit down and read cookbooks. But when I really want a recipe, that's so hard. And thank goodness for the internet. Now, allrecipes.com is one of my favorites. They send me a new recipe every day. And if I want a recipe, I usually go to them. Or I will do a web search of a favorite cook I like. And sometimes, like if I want Cajun food, you know, I might go to a known Cajun cook just to see what they might have on a recipe. So, I don't know. Mine's not. Let me pick up one that's stapled. See what I've got on the front. Fish tacos. This is really good, and to me, a very healthy recipe. The dressing, the sour cream is the worst part of or the only bad part about the dressing, unless you overdo it on the salt, and you can control how much of that you put on. If you use a light sour cream, I actually, when I made this, I bought a jar of Mexican cream, and I didn't look at the label, so I don't know how bad I did with that. But since I was doing a little Mexican flavoring, I bought that to use. It's a little bit thinner than regular sour cream. Now, where I messed up is when I was measuring my, I was going to put some Cajun seasoning in it, and I put a whole teaspoon of red pepper in my sauce. And then I had to add more cream. But anyway, that was just a mistake. On tortillas, they make a whole wheat tortilla, and they make low fat, and I've noticed the calorie count can go anywhere from 80 to 180, so you can really control your calories with that. I made my fish, I used mahi-mahi instead of tilapia, and I found a fresh caught mahi-mahi at Walmart in the frozen section. I put it frozen directly in a Ziploc bag with the marinade and let it sit out on the counter for about an hour. This says marinate 6 to 8 hours. I didn't have 6 to 8 hours. It was really good. It absorbed the flavors well. And I have a little grill. It's not a George Foreman brand, but it's just like that. I did it inside on the grill. Anyway, I'll do this one again. That's a real good recipe, so I hope y'all enjoy that. I cook and I bring food to work, and everybody says they're gaining weight because my husband won't eat sweets, And so I bring them to work and make them all eat them. But this is my famous chicken salad that I really like. You can use a light mayonnaise with it. It's not a lot of mayonnaise for this much chicken salad. And there's nothing special about it, except there's as much vegetable and fruit in it as there is chicken. And that's how I like my chicken salad. So I gave y'all the recipe for that. This chicken divan, I don't know how you say that recipe, was originally a Paula Deen recipe that I found, and I just changed it a little bit. But it's really not bad. I know it says 6 tablespoons of butter and a little bit of heavy cream. If you don't spoon the sauce back over your serving, that's for 6 servings. I cut the recipe in half, and my husband and I ate on it 2 days. But it makes a really pretty dish, too. A nice dish that you can serve if you wanted something to serve company. So anyway, thank y'all for tolerating I've got a few more recipes here, but my cooking tips. Oh, I love this cranberry dip. The holidays are coming up. You can use a low-fat cream cheese if you wanted to have a little dip. And there's my world-famous salsa. I also put that on the fish tacos. I say world's best salsa. I think it is, but that's my recipe. Okay, so have 2 recipes at the end. There were 2 that were healthy. The fish tacos and the chicken with broccoli are really pretty healthy and a way to get some vegetables in. But the pecan pie muffins. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas we've got to have pecan pie. But this tastes just like pecan pie. And 2 little muffins. I make them in the little mini muffin can things. They're about 110 calories for 2 little muffins. If you use half your sugar, if you use that Splenda brown sugar, so it's really not bad. And so if you've got someone coming to your house who's diabetic and you want to give them a treat that's not too many calories, this is a good alternative. And I would eat this anytime over pecan pie. I made it half Splenda and half brown sugar, and then I made the full brown sugar, and I did taste test with my husband, and I went across the street to my neighbors, and all 4 of them ate them. And my neighbor's wife, she preferred the ones with Splenda because she doesn't like over-sweet things. But if you weren't eating them side by side, I made them eat the Splenda one first, and they said if you never had the other, you'd never miss the extra sugar in it. So y'all make that one. That's really good. And then this is just a little experiment. My mother-in-law said this was a really good pie, and it's not bad, but it's a pudding pie. And so it tastes like Jell-O pudding. But if you've got someone at your house who doesn't need to be eating a real sweet dessert, you can put half a cup of pudding in a pretty little dish. Stick 1 little 1/4 of a graham cracker in it, and a little bit of whipped cream, and if you did little chocolate shavings on it, they think they're getting a really fancy dessert. So anyway, if y'all need a couple of dessert ideas for Thanksgiving. I would have given you my dressing recipe, but it has so many calories in it that y'all would be sending me your medical bills. So, any questions? I don't think I went to the end of that, but let's see if there's anything there they really wanted us to know. Oh, just go into the website. I can't tell you how much you need to eat, of course, but you can control it by controlling your plate size like we talked about. But the website can give you exactly how many cups of fruits and how many cups of vegetables. It's really not a bad website, a place to spend some time. And it can get real specific for you. And I gave you a handout on checking labels. Eating out is a crapshoot. Sodium is the worst part. Sharing an entree is so nice, or bringing half your food home. Yes, ma'am?
Eating out for salad is really awesome because they have more stuff than I could ever keep up with.
That is true. I love Jason's Deli for salads. Do you have a special place you like?
I like Izzy's salad.
Izzy's? So do they let you put whatever you want on the salad, or do they make it for you?
They make it for you in the salad.
That's true. You can get some real healthy food salads out if they specialize in salads. If they don't, then you're going to get some wilted lettuce and a piece of tomato. But I really like Jason's Deli. I'll have to try Izzy's. Okay, I'm just going to the end of this. Oh, this is I think my questions kind of covered this. Because this would be good for high school kids too. Okay, so I don't know how to turn it off without going to the end. You wanted to talk a little bit? Did y'all have any questions? Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you so much. This is going to be our last wellness seminar for this year. We have our flu shots coming up November 1st and 2nd, so please sign up for that. And oh, thank you so much for completing your health surveys. That was wonderful that we were able to achieve that. Last quarter, we said we would do the drawings for the prevention exams this quarter. So there were 316 employees eligible for that. And we will be doing the drawing, draw 10 names for $50 cash each. We'll send out the winners for that this afternoon. And then we'll also be doing the Q3 drawing, which was completing the health survey. There are 438 employees that completed the health survey. So we'll be giving out 10 $100 cash prizes. So we'll announce the winners for that. And this is going to be the first time where our power plants and the electrical equipment department, right-of-way and construction, the special departments will also have their individual drawings because so many of the employees in those departments also participated. So we'll be having winners for those special departments as well. And we will also do the quarterly drawing for achieving 100 points within the quarter, where we'll draw 5 names to win $100 each. So now we're in Q4. The fourth quarter incentive is to complete at least 2 prevention exams anytime this year. You just have to have them completed by December 31st. And we'll be doing 10 $200 cash drawings. And then our annual drawing to earn a day off, just to remind you what you have to do to be eligible for that. At a minimum, you have to earn 100 points, and that has to include the completion of a health screening or prevention exam, the health survey, earn at least 15 points for reporting healthy biometric data, and then earn at least 30 exercise points. So I just wanted to remind you of that. The focus for Q4, again, is just completing 2 prevention exams. And ironically, most people have already done that because it was a part of the health survey. But if you haven't, you still have time to achieve that. Do you have any questions about the remaining Rewards for Life incentives? No? Okay, I'm really disappointed we have so many lunches left back there. Again, next year when we budget for these wellness surveys, we'll continue to provide lunch until we run out of money. I was nice this year. This year we actually ran out of money last month. We spent all of the food money. But because we did so good on the health survey, it's like, oh, we got to do it one more time. So, but it's really a waste when we have, how many lunches are left back there? And they're like $10 a pop, you know. So anyway, encourage your coworkers that if they're not going to come, let us know. Or don't just say you're going to come and not show up, because it really costs us money. Any questions or concerns? All right, well, we are done. Thank you for coming.